Hi everyone, welcome to a brand new show. Well, it's not a brand new show. We had it last week. It was called the Tuesday Throwdown, but we have nixed that and we have brought it to the day that you all want to see it, Wednesdays. This is Answer Your Question Wednesdays, where Jack...
Sorry.
Is there something funny about that introduction?
Answer Your Question Wednesdays.
Answer Your Question Wednesdays.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Well, it'll work for now.
It'll work for now. So I am joined by Jack the Jobber, not Jack the Jober, who, trivia fact about Jack... He is very knowledgeable about wrestling, but he cannot stay up past 1 a.m. He falls asleep at any time after that, so he cannot watch live pay-per-views, he cannot watch live Raws without a lot of Red Bull.
I was very tired, all right?
Okay. And I'm also joined by James Dixon, writer extraordinaire, writer of the Raw Files, the Titan books, many love letters to me, which we can't go into on this podcast. James, it's nice to see you again.
Well, in an effort to be positive, I will say that I love the name of today's show. And that's maybe the best you'll get from me today.
So here we go. Let's address the elephant in the room here. People last week thought that you were very negative.
Yes.
What would you like to rebut with those comments?
It's not my fault if they've never seen good wrestling before. No, man. No, I'm just playing devil's advocate there. Look, I love wrestling and I love WWE in theory. And I love it when it's done right, which it often is. But if it's not, I'm going to call them out on it.
Well, I think the important thing to talk about a little bit is that you've watched wrestling similar to me. Like for the majority, you were through two boom periods, through the kind of golden 90s WWF SummerSlam 92 period, and then the Attitude Era.
Right.
So your level of critique on wrestling is probably a lot harsher than maybe somebody who started watching in 2006.
Yeah, to be perfectly truthful, I fail to comprehend how you can become a fan watching now, because I remember it when it was so much better. I mean, granted, there's moments now when it can be good.
But do you think people like it now because they don't have all the comparisons that you have?
Probably. I think if you just started watching it now, you don't know what's come beforehand, so you're not comparing everything to something else that happened before that was better and done better. Whereas, because I've got that sort of the burden of knowledge, I suppose, it makes it hard to watch something without thinking, well, it was better when they did it with this guy or this guy. Yeah,
well, that's kind of like when everybody loves the Batman films by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah,
and I like them, but to me it's always the Tim Burton 1989 Batman with Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Michael Keaton as Batman. That's like my bread and butter, and I don't hold those films up as high as I hold that one.
See, the first one I remember was George Clooney.
Oh,
yeah,
that's grim, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But Jack, we should also mention something about the audience wanted me to bring up to you. I should introduce myself, actually. I'm Kenny McIntosh. You might remember me from the F. Kenny movement that swept the nation. Jack, you did a movement on our podcast on Monday, where you did something called dabbing.
Yeah.
And I didn't see you do it, so I feel like the people would want my reaction. So could you just once again dab for me, just so I can see what I missed?
I've not got, just going to preface this, I've not got the most confident dab.
Okay.
It's basically this. I messed that up. There's too much equipment.
Is the click part of it there?
No, that was just me. Hang on. But you've got to kind of throw your... Oh.
Right.
I've not got enough space, I'll be honest.
Okay. I'm not going to give you my thoughts immediately, but James,
no,
what did you think?
He didn't say he was going to give his
dabbing.
thoughts.
Look, I'd rather not comment on things I don't understand, because I do not know what I've just witnessed.
Enzo did it at Roadblock.
Did he?
Did you watch Roadblock?
Yes, I did.
When he came out, he stood at the top. Just did that.
I didn't know that had a name.
Dabbing.
As such.
Dabbing. So what? So it's basically you almost like smelling your armpit.
Yeah.
It's like the crook of your elbow.
Okay.
Are you smelling the crook of your elbow?
And then this hand, I've seen variants on what you can do. You can do that. You can do
it's kind of it's almost like the Hogan pose. Like it's getting there. It's just the opposite way around.
Yeah, and it's a bit more shy.
But why is it a thing?
I don't have a clue. It started in a rap song, I think.
Did it?
American footballers do it now, and
my favorite interaction regarding the dab was we had an office conversation about the dab, and King Ross, that you're all familiar with, was in the conversation, and Jack was explaining dabbing to everybody, and Jack's defense of dabbing was that it's what cool Americans do, to which King Ross responded, but why are you doing it when you're not cool or American? Which I thought was harsh, because you are one of the two.
I think you should give him a rebuttal here.
Yeah, if you got a rebuttal to Ross's
I
comments.
said it before. You said you're
Yeah,
not,
but
you're
tell
not
the
either,
world.
and I went,
Tell the world.
Well, when I am cool, but I've said that with such a lack of confidence there. I just don't feel very now.
So, this is the Answer Your Questions Wednesday, and you're the man who gets the questions and brings them to us, brings them to James, who I think is probably the real titan of knowledge.
Oh, very good.
Because he books. And I'm sort of maybe like an in-between, I guess.
When you have to explain the joke, it's not so funny, man.
And I'm the reigning quiz champion out of me and Ross. So
you are.
You know, I'm slightly
ahead.
Anyway, I think we should give.
Go for it.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say thanks to everyone on Twitter for submitting your questions at WhatCultureWWE.
And congratulations to What Culture WWE getting 500,000 subscribers.
Oh, on YouTube. Ooh.
Oh, is that YouTube?
That's the YouTube channel. Okay. It's awesome.
No account for taste.
What?
What?
You're part of it. What do you mean?
I know.
Oh, well, why can't you? What do you mean?
Because he's part of it.
Because I'm part of it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like people choose to watch us talk about wrestling.
You should be proud.
I am, but it's a bit weird. Like
they might not after last week, to be fair.
That's true. They might have given up on this one.
Question 1. It's from.
I thought that segue was excellent, Jack.
It's from Stefan J. 1796. It's quite old. How would you book the main event of WrestleMania? I'm assuming he means Roman Reigns, Triple H. So it's a really tricky one. WWE seem to have booked themselves into a corner. They could, like, if Roman wins, it could be a mutiny, a fan reaction at the end of WrestleMania.
Sure.
If Triple H wins, it's quite underwhelming.
Right.
So what would you do?
I think there's 2 words that encompass the only thing they need to do. Double turn.
Ooh.
That's what I would go for.
Problem with that, though, is that Triple H is going to be the babyface anyway with that crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Roman Reigns is definitely going to be the heel with that crowd.
Yeah.
So it's quite hard to execute a turn when they're both already how they want them to be. So,
but I mean, I guess that's kind of like, I mean, when you went into WrestleMania last year, Brock Lesnar was a heel going into it.
Yeah.
And he, like Triple H this year, was cheered and came out of it as a babyface. So you could kind of do a similar thing that way. Reigns, it's harder because we're in this era now where, like, if you're a heel, you get cheered for being a good heel. But if you're a good guy, you're not very cool, so you get booed. So it's almost like there's a bigger problem to that.
I don't think it's just if you're a good guy. Cesaro's a babyface who gets cheered, for example.
Because they don't push him.
Yeah, it's very difficult. You know, WWE are in a difficult position, really, because how do you book to this current audience? I mean, you've just pointed out the problems that they've faced.
I think they need to bring back, like, an example would be, I think it was last night, or when was it? It was either Roadblock or Raw, where Xavier Woods rolled up Rusev.
Mm-hmm.
The babyface rolled up the heel and used the tights.
Well, is he a fit? Yeah.
New Day are heels, really, though, aren't
but
they?
they're supposed to be babyfaces.
Last night was their turn, though, on Raw.
Yeah, but like if the babyfaces are cheating, and the heels are cheating, and everyone cheats, then there's no real heat to get from the cheat because everybody does it. You know, like
when we were watching it, when he rolled him up, and then Rusev immediately jumped on him and started beating him up. We laughed. We were like, "Oh, good, because they just cheated to beat him, and he should be angry."
You absolutely should.
I felt no sympathy for the New Day in that.
But strangely enough, that whole segment was designed as the New Day's face turn.
Yeah,
which is strange.
The opposite effect.
Well, yeah, because as you say, they cheated to win. But so did Hogan in the 80s. You know, Hogan had always raked the eyes, and Jesse Ventura used to call him on it every week.
Worse with Hogan because he was meant to be the ultimate good guy.
Right,
he was meant to be so good.
Let's not shame the name of Hulk Hogan and his 10-inch penis. There's no need. There's no.
He's not. Oh no, he does. Terribly doesn't.
Terribly doesn't. However, I will predict this now. Triple H, you say it on record, Triple H always has to be better than everyone else.
Yes.
So Triple H will come out on Raw, the go-home Raw at WrestleMania, and announce he has a 14-inch penis. He will not say 16-inch because he doesn't want to impinge on Flair's record.
Sure.
He will say 14-inch, and then at WrestleMania, his massive 14-inch penis will come out, and he will emerge from it on stage. That will be his entrance at WrestleMania.
So the tone's suitably lowered.
How would you book... James, how would you book the main event of WrestleMania?
How would I book it? It's almost impossible because you can't win. You know, if Triple H...
If I'd asked you how would you have built it up better, you could probably do it. But
yeah, I mean, Not really with Roman Reigns, because if they're so adamant in having him be a babyface and the fans are so adamant that they're not going to accept him, as they've proven for the last 14, 15 months, then what can you do? If you keep forcing something down people's throats that they don't want, they're going to reject it. And it's going to... Having him beat Triple H is not the right thing to do as far as getting him over as a babyface. That's undoubtedly what I think they will do. You know, they'll put Reigns over, they'll expect this big babyface ending, they'll have him interact with The Rock, maybe Steve Austin. They'll try and give him all the shine.
If they all come out and pass the torch to him.
I think that's what they will do.
Be in the ring and be like, this guy.
It won't work, but it didn't work at the Rumble last year, you know, when they did it with Rock. But they will try, and they will try anything they can because Vince McMahon is convinced that Reigns is the future. And whether he is or he isn't doesn't really matter. I have no issue with Reigns, but the fans do, and the fans resent the fact he's been pushed down their throats and it's not organic. So...
Another issue that
it's going to be hard.
Another issue that's come up is that by doing the Ambrose match at Roadblock, they kind of gave you who the fans want.
Yeah.
And then had him fail. And it's similar to what happened before, where last year fans wanted Daniel Bryan. They got sort of the tease that they still might get Daniel Bryan all the way through to February, and then Daniel Bryan loses, and you still get Roman Reigns. But I think that with Roman Reigns, like when he came out in Raw and we were watching the Brawl, and I thought the Brawl was great. I thought he did really well. Yeah. I thought he was really intense. I thought he was really good.
He lashed that bin at him.
When he threw that bin at Triple H still looked like he'd been shot. It was great. The problem is that the words in my head were just too little too late. It's you've got to a point where I don't think there's anything they can do, anything that can get Roman Reigns cheered as a top babyface at WrestleMania.
At WrestleMania, that's the thing the clause you have to put in there, because 3 months ago when he beat Sheamus on Raw, and that was a great episode of Raw, and a brilliantly built storyline throughout the show, and when he won, the crowd went crazy. And TLC the night before, when Triple H sold for him unbelievably well and made him look great, and
then he flew to London, went on NXT.
Yeah, he did ruin it, but at that point, Reigns looked like he was the man. It looked like they'd finally got it right.
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because that sort of brings us on to our next point, because we wanted to bring up this whole... did you use the word conspiracy theory or theory anyway? Yeah. That Triple H is frustrated with Roman Reigns and is... It sounds like a really harsh sort of
sounds like
claim.
Jesse Ventura should be hosting it.
Yeah.
Well,
is he trying to hold back Roman Reigns' babyface push?
Well, there's examples about whether you believe it or not. Like you say, TLC. I mean, I remember going into TLC thinking this is going to be the drizzling. You know what?
Drizzles.
It's going to be a terrible show. I'm not interested. And somebody texted me and said, you need to watch the post. You need to watch the end of the show.
Right.
And I was going to work that day, and I was like, right, okay, I was doing stuff for What Culture, so I was like, I better watch this first before I start. And I watched the segment with Reigns and Triple H, and I remember being like, I like this guy. Like, I could get behind this guy. But then Triple H went to London, went on TV, which kind of almost instantly took away what he'd done. He was posting midnight workouts on Twitter. Then he returns at the Royal Rumble. He comes out not as Authority Triple H. He very clearly comes out as DX Triple H. He comes out, he wrestles like a babyface. He then eliminates Roman Reigns. First thing he does when he eliminates Roman Reigns, crotch chop. Everybody goes wild because they love DX. Because we're in an era of nostalgia, because they don't create anything new to counteract that. Then, on Raw, he comes out the other week with the leather jacket on. He's got the jeans.
Awesome.
Oh, he looked like a badass. He was great.
Did you see there was a Reddit post or something, or a Twitter post that was like, how do we get the fans to get behind Roman Reigns? Oh no, let's send out Triple H looking like a badass. No one will find that cool.
Yeah, exactly. And he comes out and he beats down Roman Reigns, crotch chop again. Fans go wild. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I think that when you put all that stuff together, it's difficult to look at that and go, Triple H is a clever guy. Like,
absolutely,
all that stuff together says to me there's something in the theory. I don't know if it's 100%, but there's something fishy going on, I think.
What's the motivation, though? That's what you got to look at. When he used to do this to guys in the past, like Rob Van Dam and Kane and, countless Booker T, Kurt Angle, there's loads of examples. When he used to do it in the past, it was because he was protecting his own spot. His spot does not need to be protected anymore. He doesn't even have a spot on the roster. He runs the place with Vince and Stephanie. He doesn't need to look after his top dog spot anymore. So what's the motivation for doing that?
What is the motivation that by him? But if Roman Reigns wasn't working, put him with me. Have me win the title. That'll get it working. And then when that fails, that Triple H helps it deliberately fail, we're going to get to WrestleMania weekend, and maybe Triple H says, listen, maybe we should just keep the belt on me for a little longer. Maybe we...
How does it benefit him?
Because he gets to... Here's the thing with Triple H. I think when you look at his career, Triple H has done a lot for NXT, he's done a lot of good things, but the only time that Triple H's good stuff gets compromised is when his ego is involved.
Yeah, true.
When his career is involved. And I think he still sees himself as he still sees himself as a performer. I think there's maybe a battle going on behind the scenes that Vince maybe doesn't want him to be anymore, and he wants to be. So I don't know if it's got something to do with the fact that maybe Triple H wants to be included more on screen. He wants his character to still be strong enough that in the summer he can be doing matches with Finn Balor, or he can be involved against the Balor Club, or maybe that's the motivation.
His character will always be strong because it's Triple H.
You can see that, but
they surely know that. The way they promote Triple H, they see him as the ultimate WWE icon. Look at the way they promoted him against Sting last year. It was WWE icon Triple H. No one had ever picked Triple H as WWE's icon. You'd pick Hogan or Austin, Cena, Taker, all those guys. You would never pick Triple H because
I think he always
nobody
walks
feels
around.
that way.
I think he always walks around, and it might not be Cornette that he's thinking in his head, but I think he always walks around with that complex of, I'm the guy that works with the guy that draws the money.
Right.
And I think that gets him. It really gets to him.
Well, Meltzer called him a B-plus player years ago, and then they turned that round. And
Really?
Yeah. And
I didn't know
that's
that.
where the Daniel Bryan thing comes from.
Wow.
And I think that he does have a complex, and he is obsessed. There was a point where
I
everybody
had no
was...
idea about that. It's blown my mind.
Everyone was sure that he'd be the guy to beat Flair's record because he wanted to be... That's why Evolution was formed. That's why Ric Flair was his manager, because he wanted to be in the Horseman. He wanted to be a Horseman, you know? And I don't think it's down to that. You know, look at the way they've booked Reigns with other people as well, though. That would be the counter. They booked him with Lesnar and Ambrose, two babyfaces, far more popular than him. So they just don't know how to book him right. They can't quite figure it out because they know what they want him to be, but at the same time, they know the audience is going to reject him, so they're unsure what to do.
But if at the same time Triple H is overseeing NXT and overseeing these pay-per-views and shows that we're all like, this is exactly what we want, this is exactly what we should be getting, that's what says to me Triple H knows better. And when he's involved, I feel like that's when he's, he might not speak up when Tyler Breeze is not getting a push that he wants to happen, but he's sure as hell not going to let his character be compromised in anything. So I'm probably more fascinated by the WrestleMania 32 main event with Roman and Triple H than any other match.
It's interesting.
But I don't think I'm interested for the right reasons. I think I'm interested in Shane and Undertaker for the right reasons. I'm interested because there could be a lot of stuff that happens during it. I'm excited about the implications after it. With Roman Triple H, I'm purely just going to sit back and think, how are they going to pull this off?
Do you not think that it's maybe just in Triple H's mind, he's just trying to build heat? He's just trying to build himself as this unbeatable heel champion, this authority champion that... So when Reigns does beat him, that the fans will react.
Just picturing his entrance during WrestleMania 30. Like, that's what he sees himself as, like the barbarian with like the skull.
But this is the guy last year WrestleMania was the heel. And he came, Sting had those drums that he came out to, and then Triple H, the heel, comes out. He's the Terminator. He's got Arnold Schwarzenegger doing a video.
Well, when you're friends with that.
So, yeah, great. I mean, but the thing is, I remember specifically, go back and watch WrestleMania 31. There is a moment, and I've spoken to Sting about this, but there's a moment where...
dropping that in, are you?
There's a moment in that match where Triple H's entrance is happening. He's coming out with his big, tinfoil Terminator outfit.
I liked it.
And it cuts to Sting's face, and Sting's just like, what is going on? What is this? Because he's baffled, because why the heel should not have the cool entrance.
I figured he was more surprised at the size of the crowd, because he'd never seen one that big before.
Oh, that's harsh. I don't like that.
Sorry.
Poor Sting.
If we just thanks guys for that fascinating delve into Triple H's psyche there. I think that was really good. And it brings me to our next question from at TWC 2001. And at first I thought 2001, if he's born then, he's like a kid. 2001-year-olds, people born in 2001 will now be 15.
Thank you for the
14,
maths
15.
lesson. Yeah.
That's sickening, isn't it?
Well,
they can drink in a few years.
I was 16 when they were born. That kills me.
I mean, I was 9.
I could pretty much drink when they were born, so...
Yeah, horrible.
None of us are
kid.
happy about your existence.
So thanks for that.
Cheers, mate. Anyway, his question is,
Great,
or
can't
hers,
wait to
no,
answer it.
will WWE turn Reigns heel? He's not putting a time frame on, but will it, I suppose you could say, will he turn heel, or when will he turn heel? So we'll go to you first, James, this time.
They'll probably have to eventually.
Yeah.
When it'll get to a point where they'll keep pushing him and it won't work. It's the Rocky Maivia effect. When they first brought The Rock into the WWF in 1996, they tried the same thing.
He was Roman Reigns, yeah.
Basically, but not as cool, though. And he was...
Very clean cut.
Very clean cut.
Great
very
hair.
bland. Yeah, poodle on his haircut. You know, he was terrible, but they forced him, tried to put him over, put the Intercontinental belt on him within a couple of months, and fans rejected him. And this was in 97, you know, they were chanting, die, Rocky, die, things like that. They had to turn him heel to turn him face, and it worked, obviously, very, very well in the end. And with Roman, I think Steve Austin said pretty much the same thing on his podcast recently, that they need to book him the same way. They need to turn him heel to turn him face.
Do you think that Roman's got, obviously The Rock, when he turned face again,
Yeah.
he now had that new charisma that he'd sort of, they'd tapped into, and that helped him out a lot, whereas I don't know if Reigns doesn't have that sort of charisma.
I think he does, actually.
Right.
I've seen him do, I can't remember what it was, you know when they do like those SummerSlam or Royal Rumble things in advance of the show where like the guys will sit down and do like a round table kind of thing. Yeah. I think Triple H and Shawn Michaels did one, like in front of a live audience once. That's on the network. But he did one of those where he wasn't scripted, and he's really witty. He's really intelligent. He's really good at promos. The problem is he's been, badly written by the creative
2014
guys.
SummerSlam panel.
The panels,
You
right?
could say he's been reined in.
Hey! I love that you look at the camera.
I looked at both.
You.
I was like,
Look, because there's a great bit he
moment.
does in that where Steve Austin's talking to him, and Steve Austin makes like a comment about if this was the no, he said something like, "Oh, I'll be dropping a stunner on you," and Roman Reigns just cools a cucumber. Was like, "It's not the Attitude Era anymore, Daddy-O."
No.
And the way he did it
and
was
to hold
like,
your own with Austin
is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So he can do it, and
Right.
if he was allowed to go heel and given a little bit more creative freedom, and then turning babyface when it's organic, and he gets the way of, say, Kevin Owens is now, or New Day got, where people were behind them because they were just so cool, then you've got him. That's the way to do it. So it could happen.
I think it will happen. I think that the push has failed. I think December was.
Do you think WrestleMania will hammer it home to them that the push has failed? Maybe.
No. Take
I think it'll be the night after, because I think at WrestleMania
I was worried about that.
they could have Rock and Ronda and Austin all come out, and people I'll give an example. I'll be in the stadium, right? If Ronda Rousey, The Rock, and Steve Austin came out, I'd be jumping up and down. It'd be a Super Bowl victory moment because all those great people are in the ring. Next night goes right back to what it was. Roman Reigns goes back to being booed because those bells and whistles. And it's like that December night you talked about. That was great. Yeah. But you can't punch Vince McMahon out every week. You have to have more.
You don't always have a heel as hated as Sheamus every week to work with.
Yeah, so I feel like when they did the December thing with the Raw, they had the chance to make him a badass and move it away from what he was before, but they went right back. Same thing again. I mean, the second year in a row at Fastlane, he was in a match against people more popular than him. I don't understand the logic in that.
Well, there's no top heels. That's the problem.
Yeah,
the injuries have killed them, and there's no top heels for them to put Reigns against. And I think after WrestleMania, you're probably going to see him against, Brock Lesnar at some point.
I think it's going to be Ryback.
Probably
That'll be
Ryback,
the
I mean, Ryback would probably be a sensible one in the sense that he will probably get cheered against Ryback.
I don't know. You never know. But yeah, I would.
There might be no heat.
Here's my prediction. I think Roman Reigns will be a heel by the end of 2016.
Oh, that's bold. Okay. And do you agree?
I think there's a good chance. Yeah.
Right. Well, we mentioned, just to backtrack a little bit.
What do you think?
I've got no idea. I think it depends how much faith I've got in WWE, really. On optimistic days, I think, they'll turn him heel sooner rather than later. And on pessimistic days, I think they're never going to turn him heel.
At one point, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
They figured it out with Bryan eventually, how they had to use him. They figured it out with guys like Punk eventually. Yeah. So one day, they'll get there.
Right.
So we've only got time for one more question.
Well,
so
I was going to say...
What are you going to give us?
Well, I was going to say, if we just backtrack a bit to when we were talking about Reigns' mic skills, and you said he was underrated. We haven't really seen that side of it.
Right.
So we've got a question from at Sam Houston 98, another young
Well, I think
Not a
he's
young
from
fan.
Glasgow, actually. Because
Oh, really?
he's tweeted me a few times, and he has offered me a discount in a fast food outlet in Glasgow.
Wow. Has he got the authority to do that?
Well, I'm not naming the outlet just in case,
Oh, I
but
see.
I will absolutely be going in there for a pounder, a quarter pounder. I was going to try and be subtle there, but if I didn't say
Pounder.
quarter, then it sounds like I'm going in for something else. So
Yeah.
quarter pounder.
And he says, "Who's the most underrated on the mic?" And I'll throw this open and say the most underrated ever on the mic.
Right.
So,
Okay.
have you give this some, have a little discussion, see what you think.
I think I can give you somebody who I feel is one of. I think ever just depends on how you feel that day. It's kind of like asking your favorite like heel or something because it changes.
Right.
But for me, I think my most underrated most underrated promo would be Brock Lesnar,
Right.
because I'm not saying Brock Lesnar should be going out doing 20-minute Triple H promos at all. But when Brock Lesnar was
Neither
doing,
should Triple
I was,
H.
I was
Neither
gonna
should-
beat me to
Got
that
in there
one.
quicker, Jack. But I think when you watch those sit down fight promos that he does, like there was one, I think it was the one with Cena at SummerSlam 2014 where he said that there would be piss dripping down Cena's leg because he'd have beaten him so bad. Like
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, when he talks, it feels like he wants to fight and it feels like he means what he says. When I see Brock Lesnar, I believe he is Brock Lesnar.
It's
the
terrifying.
character. Yeah, I
And he can
believe
get
who
that
he is.
across.
I think there's obviously, I think there is a comfort level of having Paul Heyman with him for sure.
Mhm.
And there was that promo when he came back, and it was really bad with Laurinaitis, and he was like, "Get me Paul Heyman now." But I think he's underrated. I think when he's on the mic, he can be really good. You know, there's numerous examples. Say something stupid, Paul. Whatever it is that he does, I think that short and concise, Brock Lesnar is monstrously effective on promos, but he's never given any credit for it. So.
Well, fair enough. So you wouldn't say he's like, obviously you say he's underrated in the sense that he's not brilliant, but he's certainly better than a lot of us give him
much better
credit
than
for.
I think he's giving. I think he's much better than a lot of the people who do promos in WWE on a regular basis.
Right.
today.
Look, Brock can sell a match based on one of those sit-down promos.
Yeah.
And he used to do it in UFC, and he did it in WWE. I think it was one of the Taker matches, maybe.
Yep.
He did these sit-down interviews, and it was the most believable thing that had been on Raw in forever, you know? It was like, I wanted to see that match after that promo, and I wasn't particularly fussed either way prior, so... And it was just a sit-down interview. It was the one where he started saying, you know, I'm Brock effing Lesnar, all that kind of stuff. So it was great.
So Kenny's gone for Brock, who's sort of a lesser promo, but one who he thinks better than he's given credit for. Are you going to go for a similar one, or are you going to go
Yeah,
for
I
someone
mean-
who should be regarded as much higher?
I'm going to go for Dean Ambrose, and the reason is I think he is far better at promos than he currently is allowed to show. Very similar to Roman Reigns. You know, he's been scripted to be this wacky, zany kind of crazy guy, rather than being more like a Jake Roberts or Brian Pillman kind of subtle crazy guy, which is far more effective, I think. And but he's not going to be my overall pick. I'm just going to throw him out there because, you know, I like Dean Ambrose a lot, and last week I was a little bit disparaging towards him, saying he wasn't the top guy.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. You know, he's not the top guy, but that ain't my opinion. That's WWE's opinion and the way they book him. I like Dean, and I think if he was allowed to be let loose a little bit more and do his own thing and not be so, you know, cartoony, then you'd see that he is one of the best promos they've got there, and they just don't allow him to do it. But overall, of all time, and you're probably not going to believe this, Kenny, you're going to hate this, Ultimate Warrior. Let me explain myself, because I expect
There is an argument to this. I'm looking forward to it.
Warriors promos were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely, off the wall crazy. But tell me, how else could you have done them? How else could a character called the Ultimate Warrior who looked that way have done promos? Are they fascinating? Do we still talk about them now?
But what separates his promos from like Hogan's and Savage's and any of that?
Well, they were great
80s
as well.
Coked up. I don't want to say coked. You can't.
You
really.
can say it.
They do seem coked up when they do those promos. But
I
like,
think
The
thing
promos do,
The
right?
thing with
yeah,
Warrior is
the promos. Yeah.
Warrior did.
Not the guys.
I was gonna say yeah.
So I think that you have got a good point about Ultimate Warrior. But what's weird about his promos, and I don't think this is the case for anybody else, like Randy Savage, his promos were great in 1987. They were great in 1997. He did just as good work with DDP and WCW as he did with Hulk Hogan in the WWF. The thing with
We're
Warrior,
talking purely promos there, though.
yeah, we're
Yeah,
talking
I was gonna
promos.
say.
We're talking about promos. But like the thing with Warrior was, I think the Ultimate Warrior is one of the only characters from the 80s that there was no way to incorporate him into the 1990s.
I agree with that.
I think that was his problem. I think that's why a lot of people crap on him more than they should, because he was just a guy that in the mid to late 80s, everything was bonkers and that worked.
It was his time for it.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly wasn't his time.
Exactly.
He fit his era.
Yeah.
You know,
to a T.
Yeah, absolutely. He defined sort of what a pro wrestler
He's the
was
wrestler
to the
stereotype,
casual
isn't
fans.
he? Or him and
Yeah,
Hogan.
he
Whenever
is.
someone does an impression of a wrestler, when a non-wrestling fan does an impression of a wrestler,
Yeah.
they're doing the, well, let me tell you something and all this. Like, it's the 80s.
You ever watched Scrubs when that was on? I think they had an episode.
I think
and,
another
and the
big
guy was
one.
dressed as Warrior with a belt on and stuff. And it's like, that's the go-to character, isn't it? It's Macho Man Hogan or Warrior. And Warrior was absolutely memorable. And we still talk about his promos now. Some people can still quote them now. You know, people remember those crazy promos building WrestleMania 6 with Hogan, and you know, I think those were better than people give credit for. They were crazy, but they had to be crazy because it was the Ultimate Warrior.
But the base of them was good and made sense.
I think so.
I was going to ask you this because I've got a friend who has only watched wrestling since 2012, since I started doing podcasting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he listened to me and became a wrestling fan. And what's really interesting about being friends with him is, like, so with Triple H that we've talked about a lot, he loves Triple H. He's never seen the side of Triple H that we've heard about through the years.
Just because he thinks he's badass. Like, he just thinks he's cool.
Yeah, so like he's not went through. So like we were in a period where we loved Booker T and we were really excited about him becoming one of the next guys, and then Triple H quashes it. So we have all this kind of pent up, like, oh, he's done it before, but Andrew, my friend, doesn't, right? So he likes Triple H. There's various things that are just different. And one of the things that he did last year before WrestleMania was go through and watch all the old ones. And he watched WrestleMania 6, and he watched the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior match, and he didn't get it.
Really?
He didn't get why it was such a moment.
Yeah, because he didn't have any sort of like, he didn't have any connection to the characters. He just didn't feel it. So I just wondered.
He didn't realize how long Hogan had been on top and how dominant he'd been.
I guess the whole thing, like,
it was just one guy beating another guy.
Another guy beating another guy. So I wonder for you, somebody who's a little bit younger who maybe would not have seen that at the time, and you'd have watched it back. How do you feel about that match? I'm intrigued.
The Warrior Hogan one.
Yeah.
It's the thing is, I don't know if I've got as organic a reaction to it because I've sort of learned it. I've kind of learned about Hogan's rise and all the politics he pulled and everything. So I'm quite a fan of it. I'm not a fan of. Is that the one where Hogan? Is it the finish where Hogan kicks out just after 3 and he's like, no, hate that, hate it. Put him over properly. Don't do the whole. I know. But I liked it as a moment. This is this new guy's moment, and obviously it didn't work out like that in the long run. Hogan was back later on.
Yeah, it's fun.
There's more to that though, but
I'm really simplifying it down. Yeah,
it's just I'm just interested because for me that's like
you can tell it's huge.
I don't know if they've ever. Like people will always talk about Austin Rock at 17. That was the two baby faces squaring off. But I really think that when you've got Austin and Rock at the top, you need to have Hogan and Warrior at almost the same level because
it's close.
It was.
That's your point then, because in my mind it's nowhere near Austin and
Yeah.
Rock. For me, Austin and Rock was the pinnacle. It was like
because
the
they'd
biggest
never
one.
done babyface, massive championship.
Yeah.
WrestleMania. It never happened.
Yeah.
And it was so huge. I mean, I didn't watch it at the time. I saw it a couple of years later, but I still love the whole. I don't know if you remember the beginning promo where like there's this like the galaxy and Vince McMahon says "Galaxy's alive."
Yeah.
The ultimate challenge, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, but Warrior's a good shout actually. I don't know if there's some of his promos I don't think hold up as well over time, but I think some of them, like the ones you're mentioning, WrestleMania 6, really do hold up.
Yeah, I mean, his promos in 1998 in WCW were the worst thing ever, you know.
One Warrior Nation.
Awful times that you should be happy you didn't have to live through, but you know.
Oh, it was alive then? Wait, when?
98?
Yeah,
but did you watch it?
No.
Right.
Started in 2000.
Lucky you.
Oh, yeah. Lucky you.
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, it's genius.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much what we've got.
Great.
Thanks very much.
I think we've had some good talk.
I've been really enjoying that.
Yeah.
If I do say so, I've not really been enjoying it. But yeah. I'm such a
Thanks,
natural
man.
here.
Thanks,
James, how can people get a hold of you if they want to buy some of your books or get in touch with you, any of the above?
historyofwrestling.co.uk.
And what kind of books is it that you do? What do you offer?
Guidebooks on every WWE VHS tape ever released. Coverage of every episode of Raw from 1993 onwards. Well, that's a work in progress. And 2 Titan books, like Titan Sinking, Titan Shattered, which go behind the scenes and tell you the true story of what happened in 1995 and 1996.
and I sense maybe another one on the horizon.
Imminent.
Montreal.
Oh,
Great. And Jack, where can people find you?
at Jack_the_jobber on Twitter.
You want to spell jobber just to make sure we got
Nope,
it right?
got it. And every Friday on YouTube, Fast Count is my weekly thing. And on whatculture.com, as you can with you as well.
Yeah, you can find me on whatculture.com. You can find me on Mondays with Jack and Ross. You can find me on Tuesdays with David for the Raw Reaction. Wednesdays with my lovely two friends here. Thursdays for Wrestle Culture. And we'll probably be doing something on Fridays because, more of me, I guess. What else am I going to do? So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Comment. Let us know what you think. And we will be back next week.
Cheers, guys.